Well, I think this is such a great question. How did we get rid of all of our stuff? But I think there's actually three parts to it. One, how did we unhook our brains and detach from it? So we could literally get rid of 80% of the stuff we had spent the previous 10 years accumulating. Two, how did we systematically go through our house to do so? And three, what did we do with all the stuff? So I'll tell you what we did with it, but also what I think is the absolute best thing to do with it right now with our current circumstances. And I think what I hear is that it'll actually cause you to want to get rid of more and more. So that's awesome, right? So I'll share that with you as well. Well, hi, I'm Dawn from The Minimal Mom. We love sharing tips and tricks to help you simplify your house quickly because it has made such a huge difference in our lives. And so I don't say that to try and be dramatic. It's just every single day we are still reaping the benefits of highly simplifying our house to the point that we call ourselves minimalists, but you stop wherever you feel comfortable. Whenever your house is like to the point where you like it, it's easy to take care of and maintain, then you stop there. But I was actually visiting with a group of moms on Saturday. It was part of our Better Together group. It's a group all about supporting families, but also simplifying it too. So if you need some support in those arenas, it's open just until tomorrow, but I'll put those details down below. But we were talking about when we don't always respond to our kids the way we would like to, like maybe sometimes we yell or we're kind of crabby with them. And I was a little bit hesitant to bring it up at first because I'm always one that's like, well, does simplifying your house help at all? But I finally said, okay, do you guys feel like since you've simplified your house, so it's easier to keep clean, so it's like more tidy, like when your house is picked up and tidy, do you feel like you're more emotionally able to respond to your kids or other family members the way that you would like to? And they all agreed, yes, we have seen the direct correlation between how we're feeling emotionally, mentally, how we can respond to our family and our surroundings around us and how the clutter and the mess makes us feel. And so I was glad to hear that I'm not the only one, but recognizing it is one thing, getting rid of all the junk is another thing, right? So that's why hopefully you'll subscribe and we can spend some more time together. But let's talk about these three things today. One, how did I detach mentally from this stuff so that I could get rid of it? Two, how did we systematically go through our house to do so? And three, what did we do with all the junk, right? So let's talk about that. All right, so number one, this is the tricky part, right? How do we mentally prepare ourselves to just start getting rid of stuff that we spent money on, that Tom and I had spent the previous 12 years accumulating, and now we're just gonna get rid of it all? And so, I mean, the tip, I think this is a highly personal tipping point for most of us, but for me, we were in a stage where we had just had Gage. So we had 4 kids ages 4 and under, and people were just looking at us like we were nuts, right? And so I am trying to like make it look like, hey, we got it together. We knew what we were doing when we planned our family. We wanted to have this many kids. It was not an accident, you know, all that. But day in and day out in our household was stressful. And I was getting to that point where I was feeling resentful. I was staying home. Tom got to go to work every day and be around adults. And here I was washing the same dishes, picking up the same toys, folding the same clothes day in and day out. And I just remember thinking like, okay, so this is it. Like this is what mom life and being a stay-at-home mom is gonna look like now for the next, what, 5, 6, 7, 10 years. And it was so frustrating to me. And prior to that, I had actually really enjoyed my job and working and what I did. And now it felt like this huge sacrifice to get to stay home with our kids. Like it was backwards, right? And then I would feel guilty about that and not appreciating, you know, that I got to stay home and just wanting to go back to work, right? And so I had started a blog because I was like, I need some kind of creative outlet, and I was really enjoying that. But then I was spending more time on that than keeping up the house, and Tom would come home and be like, oh, okay. And he would get stressed out by it. I didn't know then that he was literally having a cortisol response, like the stress hormone being released, or I would have probably put more effort into it. But you know, it was just, that's just where we were. And it was gross. Like it was yucky. It didn't feel good. No one was winning. And so I listened to a podcast by Joshua Becker. He said, hey, did you know you don't have to have all this stuff? And for me, I'm an easy sell, and that's all I needed to hear. And I was like, really? We don't? And so I started researching minimalism, and I was like, wow, people really live with so much less, and they say they're really happy. And so I was like, you know what? I don't have anything to lose. I literally did not feel like I had anything to lose at that point. And so I'm like, I am just gonna try it. And we were fortunate that a lot of our stuff was not expensive. At that point in our life, almost everything was secondhand or bought from the Target clearance rack. Like my wardrobe, Target clearance rack, right? And so that made it a little bit easier. But I was so tired of how we were living that I just honestly felt like I did not have anything to lose, and I just wanted to get started. So that was kind of the shift that took place in my mind, was that I wanted more time to work on my blog and some other marketing stuff I was doing, but yet still not feel like a loser as a mom. Like I still wanted to do that well too. Like that was still very much a priority to me. So I wanted to be able to work some, be a good mom, and keep the house up. Like those were my goals, and that became my focus. And so number two, how did we systematically go through our house? Like many, we used the onion approach. And I love this because you literally go layer by layer through your house, and it doesn't feel super dramatic or jarring or overwhelming. And so I would go to the kitchen and I'm like, okay, what am I not using? And that was my filter. That first layer through my house, it was just like, what am I not using? And so that probably took away, I don't know, 30 to 40% of the stuff. And so that was cool because we started to get a taste of what it felt like, especially when we did the kids' toys and really simplified those, and my own wardrobe, and then the kitchen. It was like, oh, like this actually feels good to have extra space in the cupboards and in our closet, and the toys were so much more manageable. And so I was like, okay, this actually feels good. And so for that first round, my filter was like, what aren't we using? Like literally not using, not touching, never use. But then on the next layers around, it was like, oh, but could we get by without that? And this is where that idea of inventory really started to become apparent, of like, okay, we could keep it, but could we get by without it? Because then I don't have to manage it anymore. I don't have to inventory it. The kids, when they're just like playing, like I'm in the kitchen cooking, they're playing with the cabinets, they're pulling it out. That would be one less thing I don't have to put back in, or I don't have to pick up again. And so that was kind of my filter for the second time around, was like, but could we get by without it? And that was so liberating because I'd gone through the, previous layer, and I'd built up kind of like my decluttering muscles like we talk about, then getting to that second layer, and it was so freeing. So it went from the first layer feeling like kind of a lot of tough decisions or a lot of mental work to decide like, okay, no, we really don't need it. But then the next layers, I just felt freedom. It was like liberating, like, yes, I don't need this. I'm not gonna miss it. I like literally get it out of my house so I don't have to manage it anymore. And that was when it started getting fun, and where it was just kind of like, okay, what else can we get rid of? What else can we get rid of? And now the house feels very manageable, which I never thought was possible with 4 young kids. And it's like, this is so cool. So now everything that comes in, it's going through that filter. Do we really need it? And as I go further into like storage spaces and the kids' seasonal clothes, and I'm like, oh, I used to think they each needed like 20 outfits, but oh, they actually need like 4 or 5. Yeah, I do laundry more frequently, but I like that because there's not huge piles of laundry in the laundry room. And it was like, this idea of having less inventory to manage, it was like, this is so cool. And we started to experience it and feel the difference, and it just got easier and easier. So I know on the onset, it can be really daunting, so daunting. And I'm one, like, I don't do well with big projects. Like whenever we're remodeling and we're at the start of it, I get so overwhelmed because I'm like, the end is so far away. It's such a big project. And so we have to step back and be like, okay, yes, it's a big project, but I'm gonna do 5 minutes, I'm gonna do 10 minutes, I'm gonna do 15 minutes, and I'm gonna be like a 15-minute warrior and do that, and then I can set it aside for a little bit. And so just learning these tricks and techniques to keep moving through it is so important, and it really did make a huge difference because again, our kids were little, so I had like nap times, but it's not like I had the whole nap time, right? Because you still have 12 other things you're wanting to get done during nap time, right? And so it's like finding these little pockets of time and doing whatever you can. And I've talked about this too. The one regret I have while we were going through that process of decluttering, it took us about a year to get through our whole house to really get it down to where I would say we called ourselves minimalist. The only thing I regret during that time is that I didn't tidy more. I still hadn't developed the muscles of tidying and keeping it all picked up. And that would have, I know looking back now, that we would have started experiencing the benefits even sooner if I had also been keeping the house more picked up. But I was like so focused, like laser focused on decluttering and going through the stuff and getting rid of it, that I kind of let the tidying slide, because I was like, well, that's always gonna be there, right? Like that mess, those toys, it just keeps going every day, right? And so looking back, I wish that I would have just picked up more and tidied up more throughout it, but hindsight's 2020. But that would be my advice to you. Keep tidying along the way, make tidying a priority, and you're really gonna see the benefits soon. And that's what wins over other people in your household. I get the question every single day, how do I get my husband on board or other people in your household? Tidy, so that they really experience the benefits of the work, the simplifying work that you're doing. And it is just a matter of time before they're inviting you to their side of the closet to help them go through it. Like truly, we hear these stories every single day. So stick with it, you'll win them over. I honestly believe that with all my heart. So lastly, what did we do with this stuff? And so again, the question comes up, should I save it for a garage sale? Should I try and sell it on Marketplace? And I would say we had a $50 threshold. So if it was over $50, not original value, if we could get over $50 for it, then we would save it, and Tom would sell it at the time Craigslist or eBay. But anything under that, we just donated. I did not want to mess around with the garage sale. I know we could have made money, but through this process, I started saving money because I was not making the same purchases and the impulse buys anymore. So I felt okay, because I truly felt like our budget was benefiting from just not buying so much stuff, that I didn't have to try and squeeze every penny out of the stuff. And again, at this time, we did not have extra. Like Tom was the only one working. And so we could have used the extra money, but I just knew I needed to get it out, or it might not ever go out. So you do you. If you really need the money, then sell it. If that's, and you enjoy that, or it's not too stressful. But for a lot of us, we need to get it out, start enjoying the benefits, and trust that our budget's gonna be in much better shape once we have this all worked out, so you don't have to worry too much. So $50 was our threshold. I brought everything to Goodwill. Say what you will about Goodwill, but it was my best option at the time. I do think they do a lot of good, you know, anyway. And so that's where I brought it. I've since found another thrift store that's run by a church in our area, and all of it goes back into the community. So I've started bringing stuff there, and I've also found good stuff there for the kids. So I like to be able to kind of like sew back into that. So that's where I bring stuff now. But if thrift stores are closed in your area, or you have young kids and it's not like practical to be making all of these trips there, I have heard so many good reports about putting stuff for free out in front of your house along the road or down at the corner, and then you put on Marketplace that it's there for free, or on Craigslist, whatever site you want to use, but you put that you have free stuff out there. And everything I've heard is that there will be like a pileup of cars outside of people getting it. Everybody likes free stuff. I sometimes feel guilty about that because I don't want other people to take it either, but we just need to get it out of our house. But here's what's cool about this is I hear people saying like they put stuff out and they're like, oh, cool, like it's gone. People were excited to get it. And then you end up going back in the house and being like, hey, what else could I put out there? What else could I put there? Because it's like this instant gratification of the stuff you're getting rid of. And so that's what I like about this method is you don't have to go anywhere. Doesn't matter if you have kids at home, you don't have to drive. People literally come and get it from you, and it's really effective. Like the stuff will be gone. I've never heard anyone have anything left after doing this if you put stuff out for free. I mean, if it's super junky, I guess maybe, but I mean, like people are like, you wouldn't believe the stuff that people took. So I think this method is highly effective, and you might even find that it causes you to get rid of more than you were originally anticipating, which I consider a win. So I think that's a really good thing. So, but let us know if you have other like creative ways that you've gotten rid of stuff, especially if the thrift stores are closed in your area right now. But I hope this is helpful. I really can't say enough good things about simplifying our house. It has changed everything, and that everyone in our house, it benefits and feels more level mentally when the house is tidied up and picked up. So it has been a huge win. I don't feel guilty about asking the kids to help because I know it's a manageable amount for them, and it's just been so good. So if you haven't done so already, I hope you subscribe so that we can spend more time together. If you are a parent looking for some more support in that arena, we'd love for you to join our Better Together group. But otherwise, I hope you have a great day. I love you, and I'll visit with you again soon.